Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video we're going to be going over a blast from the past in blue Doflamingo all the way from back in OP01. Now, I actually think Doflamingo is in a pretty good spot in this meta to contend with the decks like Ace and even Emu, and as a result, I think this deck is actually a bit of a dark horse, and I don't think a lot of people have their eyes on this deck overall. Now, this deck was actually considered best deck in the format just a few sets ago in OP09, but with the 4-cost Jinbei ban really hurting this deck, a lot of people dropped it, and it kind of just fell off to the wayside thereafter, but there is some support in PRB02, which we'll go over in a little bit, that I think adds to the consistency of this deck. But before we go over the deck list and how the deck operates, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button. And if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel so much. We're so close to 10,000 subs. If we can get to 10,000 by the end of the year, I will already be doing a giveaway at 10,000 subscribers, but I'll add a little bit something special to the pot. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Doflamingo as a leader, he says Dawn ×2 when attacking. You may pay 1 Dawn, reveal the top card of your deck, and then if that card is a 7 Warlords of the Sea type character card with a cost of 4 or less, you may play that card rested. So he's able to get card advantage, but also get bodies on the board at the same time. You're not having to play anything from hand. The only thing that you're really losing card advantage on is if you defend the bodies that are rested, which is a strategy that you will have to actually understand as you play Doflamingo. Now, into the deck list itself, we're playing 2 Perona. This just looks at the top 5 and is able to stack the deck any way you'd like. I think that as we go along in sets, Perona becomes a little bit less relevant for Doflamingo overall. It is a really good card, and I will usually keep a hand if I see it in my opening hand, but you tend to want to keep a couple of other cards in your hand instead of this one. And there's also a couple cards in the deck overall as the deck has evolved that kind of take the place of this with the 4-cost Boa Hancock. You also have the 1-cost Buggy, which we got in starter deck 17, and mostly you're trying to be playing with the 2-cost Teach. So that's why we've reduced it down to 2 from what it used to be at 4. We're keeping Sengoku at a 4 of. This is going to be able to grab any of your 7 Warlords type cards, which is really important. It doesn't have to be just a character, so you can actually grab your Perfume Femur. Next, we're running a playset of Buggy, which, like I said, as Perona, you're able to stack the top 3 of your deck instead of top 5. The difference between this card and Perona is that Buggy is unable to bottom deck the cards, whereas Perona is. So the 3 that you see at the top are the 3 that you're going to get. You just have to rearrange them in order of either leader ability or priority of drawing into a card. Then we're running a playset of the 2-cost Teach. This is going to be kind of the engine of the deck here, where you're trying to get this piece down pretty early on, and the longer that this can stick on the field, the more value you end up getting over the course of a game. With this, you don't have to use any of your searchers because any card in hand can turn into a card on the field with this character. On top of that, this will allow you to play multiple bodies in the turn. For instance, if you're on the 5 Dawn turn and this is already established, you can play a 4-cost character, then use this character ability to then put 2 Dawn underneath your leader, then use your leader ability to bring out another character. So this is a really strong card to be able to swarm the board quickly. One of your strongest characters, at least power-wise, is Edward Weevil. This is a 4-cost 6,000 power character that draws a card, so you're able to at least replace itself when it hits the field. And if this is in your top stack, it's really nice because you're actually getting card advantage at that point. Then we're running 2 Gecko Moria, just a 4/6 vanilla. I think these are actually somewhat important in this meta because of the fact that we have Ace being such a menace to go against that you need to be able to at least baseline hit for 6. And so having a body that comes off the top of your deck to be able to do that is really nice. It's easier to defend as well when it is coming in sideways. I'm running 2 Pudding. This is a little bit more of a controversial one where I probably would like to increase this to 3 or 4, but I wanted to fill out the deck with as many Warlords and key pieces that I could. So that's why I'm running Pudding at 2, but I do recommend running this at least 3, maybe even 4 in the current meta we're in. A lot of decks have really greedy hand sizes where they're keeping 9, 10, even more cards in hand, and having a Pudding at the right moment can really close out the game. Then I'm running a playset of the 4-cost Crocodile 2K counter. I'm not really using the effect of the on-play, but it is a nice body to have come out of life. And if you do need to bounce back a Perona, a Sengoku, or a Buggy, or maybe bounce a blocker that's really cheap back to the owner's hand, you can. Otherwise, this is mostly going to be a 2K counter for you in your hand. Then on to the new Jinbei that I mentioned from PRB02. This card's really strong for the deck overall. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 7 Warlords of the Sea type card other than Jinbei and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this has the same effect as Sengoku. And then the secondary effect is not super relevant, but sometimes comes up, is when attacking, place up to 1 character with a cost of 1 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. This is relevant against decks like Ace, where they throw down the 1-cost Searcher that they're going to end up bouncing back to hand with like Jozu's. So if you can get rid of that 1-cost Searcher before they can bounce it back, it makes it a little bit harder for them to get their plays off. Next, I'm running 2 Gecko Moria from starter deck 3, just being able to get a 7 Warlords of the Sea type character card with a cost of 4 or less back to your hand. other than Gecko Moria, of course. So if this is in your trash, you can't grab it, hence why we're only running 2 instead of more like 3 or 4. You can also grab a Thriller Bark Pirates, which is relevant because we do have 2 Perona, so you can grab Peronas as well with the Gecko Moria. On to some more 2Ks, we have a playset of Mihawk, which is going to be able to draw 2 trash 2 whenever you attack with the Dawn underneath it. Then we have a playset of the Law from Starter Deck 17. On play, you may return one of your characters to the owner's hand. If your leader has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, return up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. Now, it doesn't have to be the opponent's character, it can be your own. For instance, if you have a Buggy and maybe another character like a Perona or Sengoku on the field, you can bounce both of those characters back to your hand and fill up your hand instead of having those be on the field. So keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be the opponent's character. Then, of course, we're playing a playset of the Blocker Boa from Starter Deck 17. Just being able to look at the top 3 of the deck and stack it at the top or bottom in any way, I think is very powerful. That's why we're running less Peronas, because we have this Hancock, and as the game goes on, Perona becomes less relevant. Then we're running 2 Jozu here. It's a non-play. Return one of your characters other than this one to your hand, and then return up to 1 cost 6 or lower character to the original owner's hand. So this also, same thing as the Law, can bounce 2 of your own characters if you want, but I think mostly you're using this as a tempo play, especially against Ace. Maybe you can bounce back their own Jozu, maybe you can bounce back one of their 4-cost Marcos, and then with the Teach ability, be able to then use your leader ability and bring another body out. Very powerful turn, so Jozu's pretty important in those matchups. Then we have a play set of Perfume Femur. Yes, a play set of this because we want to see it to close out games. There's a lot of blockers, there's a lot of decks that go to 0 life and then play blockers out, and that's why Roger, the 10-cost Roger in red, is so strong, because it just has a win condition that if you use the blocker, you win. This is very similar in that you could just bypass the blockers altogether. You can put it on any of your characters that are 7 Warlords of the Sea. You can put it on your leader, and if you have the Teach on the field, yet again, as you can see, this is a very important combo piece. You can then use that 2 Dawn that you spent on this to use the Teach ability to get an additional 2 Dawn onto your leader or character that you're swinging unblockable with, which is how we're closing out games. We're pushing our opponent down to 0, and then we're using Perfume Femur to close out games. So this is the main reason I think this deck is really strong right now, is because you can just be as aggressive as possible. Your opponent is going to likely take life. You can putting them if you see it and get their hand size down to a very low hand size again, and then you get them down to 0, and then Perfume Femur for the wins. That's how we're trying to close out games. I think this list is pretty solid. Let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, against Emu, the game plan is pretty simple. Just go face as much as possible, be aggressive, and get them down to 0. Going first is going to do us really well with that plan. I'm going to mulligan this hand, though, because I don't have really any options to start off with. Having this Teach is pretty nice. We can go Teach into maybe just playing out the Boa Hancock. If we draw into a better card, like maybe a Jimbei, maybe even like a Weevil would be pretty good. That would be a better option because we're actually going down in hand size playing out the Hancock that way. They do out the Shelria, which is getting cards in their trash. They did grab a 5 Elders 10 cost, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is here. We'll go ahead and just play out the Teach, then use this ability to put the Hancock, and this at least will allow us to stack life and swing pretty big too. So here, this is pretty solid. I do want to draw into that Jimbei. The Law could be an option as well if they do have less than 7 cards in the trash, which they'll probably have for this next turn. Here they might use a +4 counter event, never existed, but looks like they don't have it, or maybe they just opted to take the life there. They are in a pretty good range to get puddinged pretty soon, but I don't think I want to play it quite yet. I think I want them to be at like maybe 2 life before I play pudding. Here they play out the Saturn, which is the Searcher, being able to grab the 5 Elders event card, which then will grab another, or not another, a never existed. So they do have it this turn, but they don't have any Dawn open for it. Here we could, I mean, this would be a really good pudding, like I said, but I think we just want to be aggressive this turn instead. I know that pudding is like a fine play, but you don't really swing with pudding thereafter, unfortunately. Let's go ahead and just grab the Hancock and swing really big again. So we'll go ahead and swing for 8. Do we like this stack? I think it's fine. We'll put a Jimbei at the top again so we can at least maybe use that as an opening play. They take it, and now we're really going to be looking to play out this pudding this next turn because they're at 9. So them at 2 life with 9 cards, or I guess probably 8 by the end of this turn, will be really good for us. They used the Shelria to find another event. They are digging, digging, digging. I think they've had all 3 of the 5 Elders in their hand right now. So really good for us. Let's go ahead and defend this because we want to keep these bodies on board. They actually could have played a Mars to KO one of our characters, but I guess they didn't have it. So they're just like digging for, I guess, their late game pieces, but they're about to have a nice little surprise here. With With 8 cards in hand, I think this is just a fine to pudding now. We could bait out the Warcury, but I don't think it's worth it. Let's go ahead and just be aggressive with our swings here. 5, 7, 7, 7. This will likely... One of these will probably be blocked. One of them will likely be countered, and then the other one they'll likely take. They did take that one. Interesting to see. Here, they just snap block, and then I think we'll go ahead and just play out the Jimbe, playing over the pudding, because it's not really going to be a card we're going to be swinging with. We'll grab, I guess the Hancock is fine. I think at this point we're kind of looking for Perfume Femur, because we want to get them to 0 here. And I think they want to protect this for sure. So they give us a 2 and a 1. They go to 5 cards, and they're going to 8 done. I think I don't know what they have in their hand anymore. Let's go ahead and just counter out with a Moria, because we want to keep the Sengoku, I think, to be able to find the Perfume Femur. We'll let that one go. We can't defend it. It's all right. Hopefully one of these characters will stay alive. They have 3 and 4, which means they're going to use their stage to bring probably a Mars out. There's the Mars. And then the other 4 will likely be for, hopefully not a Warcury, but it's probably a Warcury because they usually always have it. There it is. 3 cards left in hand. We have a couple of swings here that we could go with. I think we want to just swing 7 to begin with because it's the easiest to see how they react with only 1 Dawn. They draw the card there. Let's go ahead and just swing another 7 here. I'm not too worried. I think 7s is going to be really strong. Interesting. Okay, with that in mind, I think we can be really, really aggressive here and probably either see... Okay, they're probably going to block this hit with our leader attack, which is fine, but I think we can also stack Dawn onto the Teach right after. If they don't... Like, if they block this, we'll swing with a Teach. If they let it through, they block. So we're going to use the Teach ability. I think we just stack the Sengoku so we have a 2k in hand just in case. Not that it really matters. And we'll swing 5 into 5 here. Oh my gosh. They didn't have enough to counter out, and I think that they just would have lost on the spot. They probably assumed that I had a Femur, but I think we would have been fine getting through with the amount of swings we had on board regardless. All right, going against Ace here. Looks like we lost the dice roll, which is unfortunate, but I think, well... We want to take second from Ace. I personally want to take second from Ace. I know some players still want to go first. I like second because 1, it takes away their curve, and 2, you can swing for 8s instead of 7s. 8s are harder for Ace to get out of. 7s is just a single card every single turn. So I like second as a result. They do grab the 10 cost Tax Beard Newgate. Interesting to see. They do have the 8 cost event there. So they do have some of their combo pieces already. I think this is a really strong play for us to play this Teach down and then use the ability to put the Hancock at the top of life, and then we're going to be able to swing for 8 here with no Dawn underneath the Ace, which means that they have to give us 2 cards or they lose kind of their leader ability for a turn, which is really unfortunate. You don't ever really want to do that as an Ace player. You want to make sure that you're maximizing the amount of times you can get the card draw off of your leader ability there. So this stack is okay. We can draw a 2k, and then we can play out the Moria if we need to, in case the Teach goes down, which I don't think it will, but I mean, it's not going to go down. It'll get bounced back to hand, which they do have Atmos, which is an option. They're not going to even do that. They're just swinging 10 into 6, which I think is fine. Getting that body off the board is fine for them, which is unfortunate for us, but it is what it is. We'll go ahead and just play out this Jimbe, grabbing the Weevil. I think Weevil's a really solid option as well. We get to get a card off of it, and it's a 6k swing. 7 into 6, unfortunately, it means that they can just give us a leader ability, but they'll probably take this one because they are at 5 in hand. They probably don't mind losing a life and then drawing a card in the process. So I wouldn't doubt that they would do that. Here we get the Law off of the draw with the Weevil. They do take the life there. And I think we want to protect this Weevil if we can. Usually this turn ends up being like a Jozu, so bouncing like a Garp is usually the play there. They don't have it. Looks like they don't have it. Okay, so 6 into 6, we're defending that. And then if they go 8 into 6, I actually think we might defend this one. Because of the fact that they want this body off the board so badly. I think it's fine to go ahead and protect this. And then here, with only 3 cards in hand, yeah, it sucks, but I think what we have to do is just be as aggressive as possible, using all of our bodies. Let's go ahead and just leader ability with blind off the top. We don't get anything, which is surprising because we do have quite a lot of Warlords in the deck. They give us a 2 and a 1. Good to see that we're getting cards out of hand at least. I think we just go and do a flat base 6 here since they gave us 2 and 1. We want to kind of see if we can get leader ability out of them. And they give us a pudding, nice little baseline to see what they're giving us. So 2 out of hand, not that it mattered. We have 3 cards, so they're never going to be using it anyway. Let's swing another 6 with this Jinbei, make it a little bit awkward for them, and then we can bottom that Garp in the process. Secondary effect that this is nice of. And then we can use the Teach effect to put a Femur, and then put 1 underneath the Teach, and then stack 2 on and swing 6 into them. Makes it very awkward because they have to defend this one for sure. They don't want to go down to 0 life. But we're also super aggressive, and the bodies that they could play this next turn aren't going to be too powerful. It could be like a blocker, Newgate, it could be the Tax Beard. Either way, we're in a pretty good spot because with the block Newgate, we can just use the Femur. Hopefully this Teach survives, but knowing ace players, they'll probably go for the Weevil, which is fine. It's fine. But, I mean, this Teach is going to be doing some damage here shortly with the Teach ability. Here, I think we just do a little 6 poke to get a single card out of their hand. And then we'll use the Femur and stack all on our leader. I don't think we even use the leader ability. I think we just put all Dawn on and then hit for as much as possible. And then the following turn, we can do it again. So let's go ahead and Teach that up. I think we just put the Femur at the top. It's fine. Keep the 2k in hand. I was thinking about having like another body come out, but I don't think it really matters too much. We'll go 15 into 6. This is going to be pretty much guaranteed to go through. This turn, they could play another blocker, but it doesn't really do them too much. That's actually pretty solid. The 9-cost Newgate makes it a lot harder for me to go for lethal based off of that they're now getting an additional +2 for the next turn. So I have to hope that they don't have enough cards in hand for me to Femur and then all-in lethal them. So yeah, that's something to consider. Here, we're just going to go ahead and try it out. Femur, we have so much life, and I mean, we're using the last card in our hand. We'll see if we can get this through. If not, I think we'll still be in a fine spot regardless over the next couple turns, but I think this pretty much goes through. They have to have like a perfect hand to get out of this. And knowing ace, they usually will have maybe 1 to 2 bricks, usually 3 sometimes. They do pitch one of those bricks out, the Newgate, to -2 to our leader. And then if they have just 2Ks here on out, it gets them out of this, but they're still in a rough spot after this moment. They do have a lot of 2Ks. Oh my God. They were 1K short of getting out of that, which I figured we probably were fine either way. But yeah, in this matchup, you just have to be as aggressive as possible. And if you have multiple Femurs, keep them because you can do multiple unblockable swings back to back. We didn't have another one coming up, so thankfully that last one got us through. All right, I guess, Bonney, you want to go first. We want to be aggressive as usual. I don't like that opening hand. This one's much better. Getting the Teach is really nice, and then seeing the Bounce Law also is pretty solid as well. I think not having a turn 1's not the biggest thing in the world for us because we do have setup thereafter. We can go ahead and play the Teach, use the Teach, then bring out a Jinbei. Jinbei hopefully grabs something nice off the top. 2 Femurs is the only option we have. The double Jozu going to the bottom hurts. We don't need it for this matchup, but it is nice for some tempo plays here. I imagine they're probably going to play a 4-cost and then swing 7 into the Jinbei, which we'll just have to let go. This next turn is a little bit awkward because we don't have any searchers, so the Law is not really getting any value because we can't bounce the searcher back to hand and bounce the Hawkins, but we still want to get this Hawkins off the field. I think we just play the Hancock first to see what the top of our deck looks like. I think we'll put the Weevil at the top so that we draw into that this next turn. And then, unfortunately, we're going to have to use the Teach ability, put the Law at the top and swing 8 into the Bonney, bounce the Law back to hand, and bounce the Hawkins back to hand. This way, they don't have anything to swing into. They did take it. If we had a pudding at this point, it'd be looking real nice this next turn, but don't have it. That's the downside of only running 2 in the deck. You don't see it as often as you would like, especially when Bonney has 10 cards in hand right now. It's pretty insane. So this next turn, I would imagine that they, on 6, have a couple of plays. Most of their deck is anywhere from 4 to 6 cost. They could run the 6-cost Robin and then trash the top of my life and then swing 7 into lead. If they do that, that hurts, but I will take that 7. We will lose 2 life in the process, which kind of puts them into range of what they're wanting to do. They're trying to play out the 9-cost Bonney, and Cheese wins that way. They play out the Nico Robin, as I thought. Swinging 7 into lead, like I said, we'll just take this one. And we don't have anything that really... I mean, we bottomed our Jozus. Not that we would want to bounce the Robin back, but oh well. What we'll do here is we'll play out the Weevil, see what we get. We get a Mihawk, and that's fine. I think what we can do here is then put 2 underneath... We might actually just put 2 underneath Teach, to be quite honest. And then swing 5, 7, 7. So let's do that. Let's swing 5 to begin with. Let's see if they take this. They'll probably counter out of this one, I would imagine, because they don't want to just take a 5 when there's a couple of 7s coming their way. So yeah, oh, they take it. Okay, interesting. Well, barring no I spoke too soon. I was going to say, barring no triggers, we would be able to swing 7/7, but I guess maybe we should have swung the Hancock first. Oh well. It is what it is. We play another Hancock in its process. And then I think this deck is fine because they will likely swing into the Teach. So Teach will go down. We can play the Jimbei, or sorry, play the Weevil off the top and then draw into the other Teach, play the Teach out, and then use leader ability if we need to do that route. So, yeah, Teach goes down. Point being, we have a couple of plays we can make this turn. Okay, Stussy, a blocker that brings out the Hawkins. I think that's fine for us. I didn't want to see a Nami. I think Nami's really hurtful in this matchup. We'll go ahead and give them a 2K to protect the Hancock swing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and play the Weevil down. Like I said, we'll play out this Teach. Teach will then stack. We could do a Law, but I think at this point we just want to get more value in hand. So let's go ahead and swing. I think with... we'll do 7/7. I think 7 with lead's fine. Doesn't matter. They'll pop something if they pop something. We'll grab a 2K here. Crocodile, because the alt art looks cooler. Or I guess more sinister. And then we'll swing 7 with the Weevil. They did take that 7, which is kind of surprising. They might block one of these. I mean, they would have to block one of these, right? Counter out of one, block the other one. Are they that bricked up? There's no way. Well, I mean, I guess there's a way. But usually Bonney has more counter than you would expect. Okay, 7 into lead. Again, we don't care about these bodies. We're just swinging 7s into face 2 2Ks. Okay, so they have a bunch of 2Ks in hand. Maybe that's why they didn't want to give any counter there to see or to give away any information. 8-cost Kid, interestingly enough, pretty strong card in this deck, but because it doesn't have trigger, you don't get the full effect of your leader ability. They're just going to spread the Dawn across, swinging 6 into the Hancock, which is fine. I mean, here, I would imagine they probably should just swing into the Jimbei just to get more value out of my hand, but I do think that they want to get this Boa off the field instead. I respect it, but this turn's going to really hurt because we can just swing for 7s yet again, and they... 0-cost event, oh my gosh, that actually is insane that they saved him. Okay, so... we're not out of the woods just yet. This is what I mean with like yellow triggers. It keeps them in the game a little bit longer than it needs to be. Okay, 0-cost event, so they do get out of that one. We could swing another 7 here. This might connect. They might block. I mean, this will connect if they let it go through, obviously, but they could just block this one. And then we would have guaranteed lethal no matter what. But regardless, let's go ahead and swing 7 first, see if we can get a card out of hand. And then we'll do the Femur, where we do the Teach ability, and then just swing really big for 14. Obviously, that's going to let through, and that's how you close out games against Bonney. You just have to be aggressive, protect your bodies. Really important in this matchup, and just hope that they don't see any Namis. Alrighty, Roger, we're going to go first, and this hand's pretty solid here. We can play Buggy on 1, Teach on 3, and then how do we want to stack this? I think we want to stack the Jozu at the top, actually. Jozu at the top, and then we can use the Jimbei to grab any of these other cards. Probably our best bet. So yeah, this next turn we'll swing 7 with the Teach ability to bring out the Jimbei, grab a card off the top. Hopefully we can grab a nice 6K body, whether it's Boa Hancock or the Weevil. It would be easier to defend there. So we'll go ahead and play this out. 7s really hurt against Roger because they're a 5K leader until they hit 10 Dawn. So it's a race for us to beat them before 10, or at least get them down to like 1 life. Once they hit 10 Dawn, which is really tricky to do. Usually you can get them down to like maybe 2 life, and even then it's sometimes hard to close out the game, especially if they see like 9-cost Newgate, or sometimes they're running the 8-cost Roger in the sim because you have access to it. Obviously, in the West, we don't have access to that card right now. I'm going to defend this one with a 2K counter. 6 into 5 is really easy there. I would imagine this is probably a Bullet. Douglas Bullet. It's not. Okay, so it's a Buggy. Buggy into Shanks Searcher. That's fine for us. The Buggy, I mean, none of these are going to really affect the board. Either way, they grab an 8-cost Silver Israeli, so keep that in mind. If we play a Hancock, just swing with it if we have the opportunity to. Here, though, kind of awkward. This is really awkward because we don't have a second... we don't have a second Warlord, which is really unfortunate. So we're going to have to do things a little bit weird here. We're going to swing 5. I think we're just going to swing 5s across the board. We're going to go ahead and play the Boa Hancock here. Yeah, I think we... a little bit unfortunate. We're not seeing the Warlords. If we had a second Warlord in hand here, we would be in a pretty good spot. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to swing 5 with this Teach. And then we'll swing 5 with our leader. And see, let that one through. Interesting. We'll go ahead. Do we want to use the ability? I don't think we want to quite yet. I think we just swing 5 here. Get another maybe potential card out of hand. Or maybe we get them down to 2 life. I doubt they'll be down to 2 life this early on, though. Yeah, only going into 7, which means that would be really dangerous for this next turn. They get rid of the Douglas Bullet. Good to see there. If they decide to swing into any of the bodies, really unfortunate. Ooh, okay. Interesting. A Bond Clay into the 1-cost event to be able to get up to 10 this next turn. So I think that at least, I mean, they're probably going to go after the Teach, I would imagine. With that one extra Dawn, they'd probably put it underneath the buggy, and then it forces them, I'm going to block this one, it forces them to make a weird decision where it's like, do we get rid of the Teach? Do we get rid of the Jimbei or the Hancock? The guaranteed more than likely is going to be this. I'm going to let it go, and that's fine. We'll go ahead and then swing this buggy into the buggy. Ironic. And then what we'll do is we'll swing 5 into lead. We just want to poke them down before they get to this 10 Dawn turn. So 5, we'll get a card out of hand. And then I think what we can end up doing is bouncing back the Bond Clay to hand. We want to swing as much as we can first. So we go 5, 5 with the leader, and then 7 with the Hancock. They take that 5. That is wild. Okay, so we swing another 5 here, see if they give us a card. They give us a 1k counter, and then we swing 7. This will likely go through based off of how they've been countering so far. They're down to 1 life, and they are just now hitting 10 Dawn. This is a really, really dangerous spot for them to be in, because I can stack all Dawn on like a character, and it will likely go through. If we can protect any of these bodies, let's do it. They do play out the Rayleigh here. I think that is fine for us. If they go after the bodies on board, I think I'll let them go, because of the fact that I don't want to protect these cards too much. I want to try to close the game out. And I think stacking Dawn on these characters will likely get us there, but it will not be as efficient as just swinging with the Jozu and then all on leader, for instance. I think we just let this go. If they go 9 to 5, obviously we're going to let that go. And then here they have 1 open, and we can just kind of go as hard as possible. With that Teach, though, it does change things slightly, because we can play out the Teach and then play out the Gecko Moria. I think we'll do that. So let's go ahead and just do this, where we go 7 into lead, play out the Gecko Moria. They'll likely counter out. I mean, they should obviously counter out of this one. And then here, what we'll do is we'll just stack the rest on Jozu and swing 13 into 7. It's going to be really difficult for them to get out of this based off of how they've been countering. Now, with 6 cards in hand, sometimes you can expect them to get out of this, but based off of their counter so far, yeah, I expected that one to go through. So they have 8 in hand. If they want to blocker up this turn, I don't think it's going to help. I guess if they Newgate or Roger, that actually might help a little bit if they have a lot of counter in hand for the final swing. I'm going to counter out of this one. I'm going to keep this Jozu alive. I'm going to make it a little bit awkward for them, and I'm going to dump both of these buggies, and we'll see if this pays off. We'll see if it pays off. Okay, so 9 into 7. They're going to have to commit into one of the other 2 bodies to get it off the field, either the Teach or the Jozu. Now, they probably want to get the Jozu off the field, because I don't have to invest anything into the Jozu in order for it to swing into the Roger, whereas obviously I have to put a Dawn underneath the Moria, and sometimes that can change the course of the counters in hand. So I think here they're probably just going to try to prioritize the Jozu. If they put any blockers up, then they're in danger. Usually they don't put blockers up, though. Usually, they don't run too many blockers. Like, they have maybe the 6-cost Uta 2k counter. Sometimes they're running the 5-cost Odin, but most of the time they're running a lot of top end and just things to get to the top end. They put a Dawn underneath their Rayleigh post swing, which makes sense with the Uta coming out, because you need to have a 10,000 power character or more. It doesn't have to be base 10,000, just at 10,000. So the Rayleigh being with 1 Dawn at 10 means that you can cheat this out for 2. So overall, very good, but they're losing a 2k in the process, and I have Femur in hand. Now, to the Roger, it might seem like they are going to stabilize at this point. If they can put blockers up and remove a body on the board, they probably think, oh, there's 1 card in the Doflamingo player's hand. There's no way that it can be Femur, but it's always Femur. So the Shanks coming out to hopefully for them find a counter to make this at least interesting or close. Because I think this next turn, what we can end up doing is like swinging. Depends if the Jozu lives. If the Jozu does not live, then I think we just stack all on the 4-cost Moria. Another Rayleigh there. Doesn't do them any good. That card, I mean, might do them good next turn, but still, they have to play defensive on the way out, which is not where they want to be. Looks like they're going to go the route of just trying to get rid of this Jozu overall. They could swing the 9. I mean, 11 is definitely guaranteed. 9 is also guaranteed with 1 card in hand. All right, here, we're just going to use this Femur on the Moria, and then we'll use the Teachability to stack the other 2 that we spent for this Femur onto the Moria and just swing really big, which should be 18 total. If they have counter, they have to use pretty much their entire hand to get out of this, which then we can follow it up in subsequent turns with another Femur. So we just have to close out the game within the next turn or 2, which we can definitely do. Now, they might get close, and they might even counter out this turn, but they won't be able to survive for much longer after this. They have 17. Do they have a 2k counter? Oh, they do not. Okay, so they had Roger for the last one. We definitely played this as aggressive as possible, considering our mid game was really awkward. We had to pivot and then swing a lot of 5s, and thankfully it got us there in the end. We closed out a lot of those games pretty quickly, and with Perfume Femur, as I mentioned in the intro, this is a very important card for this specific deck, for this specific meta. As you can see in some of the games, we really, really needed this card. Now, for some changes that I'd make to the deck list overall, as I mentioned in the intro, Pudding is going to be a card that's pretty important as well, so I think that you might want to increase this to 3, maybe even 4. There is some consideration for cards like Red Rock, where maybe you have just a blanket removal, but the reason I don't have it in this deck list right now is because I think it's more important to just swarm the board and be aggressive, and you're not trying to play a control variant of this. Now, in other versions of this deck, you definitely had the aspect of playing Warlords in the early to mid stages of the game, and then once you get to 9 plus Dawn, you play like the 9-cost Mihawk, you play 10-cost Kaidos. We don't really want to do that or really have time to do that. We're racing against the clock against some of these decks, especially against Emu, and so we need to put the pedal to the metal and just go as fast as possible to face, and with as many bodies as we can get on the board and protect, the better for us. So that's, I think, why this deck list is going to work really well in this meta. You will have some struggles against decks from time to time. I'm not saying it is the best deck right now to play, but I know a lot of people are tired of, already tired of Ace and Emu being the 2 decks that we see take up like 70% of the pie chart, and I think Doflamingo actually has a pretty fair chance into both of those decks. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Blue Doflamingo. Are there any spicy additions that maybe you have in your deck list that I didn't include in mine? Let me know about that as well in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.